You could feel the shift in the studio almost instantly, that quiet, heavy pause where the entire room stops moving and everyone watching at home realizes something unscripted is taking place. We are so used to seeing Barney Walsh sharing infectious laughs alongside his father, Bradley Walsh, whether they are traveling the world on screen or lightheartedly bantering on TV sets. But when Barney appeared on Good Morning Britain and the conversation turned towards sudden personal emergencies and distressing updates surrounding his dad, that familiar boyish charm vanished, leaving behind a raw, visibly shaken young man fighting to hold himself together on live television. For millions of British viewers, the bond between Bradley and Barney Walsh represents one of the most heartwarming father-son relationships on television. Bradley is the beloved, unflappable anchor of the chase, a national treasure whose energy lights up evening screens, while Barney has steadily built his own career under his father's proud guidance. So when reports began circulating about an unexpected health emergency, and Barney sat on the morning sofa with glistening eyes, his voice cracking as he tried to speak, the contrast was immediate and heart-wrenching. The comedic brightness that usually surrounds them was replaced by an agonizing, quiet tension. If you paid attention to the broadcast, it was not just the verbal updates that held the audience spellbound. It was the intense, uncomfortable reality of the body language inside the studio. Barney's knuckles were tight, his eyes darted away from the main lens as if trying to collect his thoughts, and every breath he took seemed like a battle against overwhelming emotion. The Good Morning Britain hosts noticeably softened their approach, lowering their cadence, leaning forward, and giving him the space to breathe without pressing for sensational soundbites. In live television, when seasoned presenters step back and let silence sit in the room, it signals to everyone watching that what is happening is deeply real. Within moments of the segment airing, social media was overwhelmed with a wave of collective shock and empathy. Viewers online immediately began reacting to the sheer vulnerability of seeing Barney break down. For so many people sitting in their living rooms, watching a son struggle with the weight of worry over his father on national television hit an incredibly tender nerve. Many viewers noted how surreal it felt to see someone who always projects joy suddenly stripped of that shield, faced with the terrifying uncertainty that comes when a loved one's health or well-being is suddenly thrown into crisis. What made this moment linger so powerfully with audiences was how it highlighted the delicate boundary between television stardom and personal heartbreak. While internet headlines had spent hours churning out dramatic speculation, seeing Barney's authentic tear-filled reaction brought the entire conversation back down to basic human reality. Some viewers online interpreted his emotional breakdown as a sign of deep exhaustion and worry, while others felt it was simply the overwhelming stress of having to navigate a private family emergency under the harsh, unsympathetic glare of public attention. There is something uniquely touching about watching a father-son bond exposed in such an honest light. We live in a culture that often expects men, particularly young men in the spotlight, to brush off emotional distress or mask their fear behind rehearsed public relations statements. But Barney's inability to stop his tears sent a quiet, powerful message across the country. It was a reminder that no matter how famous, successful, or established you are, when it comes to your parents, you are still just a child worried about the person who raised you. As the segment drew to a close, the mood in the studio remained noticeably subdued. The presenters transitioned into the next segment with careful, somber respect, but the impact had already been made. Viewers were left quietly reflecting on their own families, their own aging parents, and the fragile nature of the lives we take for granted while watching television personalities perform on our screens every day. Perhaps what stayed with viewers most wasn't just the news itself, but the poignant silence that filled the space between Barney's words. It was a stark reminder that behind every smile on the chase or primetime entertainment, there are real families navigating real pain behind closed doors. Did you happen to see that emotional moment air live on Good Morning Britain, and did Barney's reaction leave you just as deeply moved? What were your thoughts as you watched the studio fall quiet? Feel free to share your reflections in the comments below.